12 years. It has been 12 long years since Fable 3 released. And here you have us, waiting for another Fable game. When Lionhead Studios was shut down, hope started to dim, and hopeless we became. Yet, a couple of years after that, hope started to rise anew. Rumors began that Microsoft was actually working on bringing the IP back to life, and that there was also a studio already working on it. A couple of years later, we got the official announcement. What is up, you damn gorgeous, beautiful gamers? Welcome back to Role-Playing Games, to this merry corner in the internet where we like to discuss about RPGs. So, let's then do a brief recap of what we know. The game is being developed by Playground. They have consistently released much acclaimed racing games with high scores, both from community and reviewers alike, at a steady pace, it has to be said as well. So, speaking of Fable, we have fears. Fable 3 was not received well. Then we have the disastrous situation of The Journey and Fable Legends. Legends was cancelled because there was a lack of interest from players. After the beta, interest was even dimmer. Microsoft knew that Fable was an important IP, but Microsoft at the time clearly had no idea of what players really wanted. The truth behind the Legends cancellation, Fable Legends cancellation, is that players were tired. First, they gave us that hideous Fable Kinect game, Journey, and then an MMO that really nobody asked for. Not even the developers wanted to work on it, and instead, they did wanted to make Fable 4. That was said prior to Lionhead's shutdown. The original plan was to make Fable 4 after Legends. Sources, as always, in the video description. Now, as you can see, there seems to be a pattern in here. Playground's Fable has been covered here in the channel extensively. So what do we know about it? Playground began working on it since 2018. That's 4 years now. Initially there was a studio of 200 people working on the project. More and more were added as time passed by. But as more people was added to the company, there was also a starting to rise from the turbulences. People started to leave the studio. Key positions in the company were being swapped left and right, occupied by other people. I could not recover the tweet, so you're gonna have to trust me on this one, but Kim McCaskill, who was one of the lead narrative designers at some point on Playground for Fable, was once asked by a follower how was Fable's development going, to what she responded that probably downhill, since she was no longer working on the project anymore. Now that could mean anything really. She is a committed writer. Logically, her personality has to suit her public reasons. That said, she was not the only one to leave the studio. The rest, I'll leave it to you to give some thought on it. With all that in mind, let's go to more recent events. A couple of months ago, the Spaniard news magazine Vandal interviewed one of the lead combat designers that worked for 3 years at Fable, Juan Fernandez. All we are going to read is translated by me, since I personally do not trust that much on other magazines what they have translated from the original source, Vandal. So this quote that you have on screen right now, it's the original interview, and I am going to read it in English for you. Playground is a serious company, very organized and production driven, governed by production. Every 2 years they release a Forza Horizon, which has more than 90 on Metacritic, with incredible quality. They have taken racing games and they have dominated these last few years. They are very smart and they do know what they are doing. They wanted to expand with something different, and they thought that what they do well is open world racing games, and they lack people with knowledge of how to do open world gameplay, how to control a character, and the actions that are very different from what you have in a racing game. The technology level, you have to develop an animation system, a script system, a quest system, which has very different requirements from moving a car at 300 kilometers per hour than walking through the countryside. He came to handle the combat part, define what technical requirements need to be met, and the concept of what an updated Fable should include. He spent 3 years at Playground, above all creating technical systems, writing documentation, doing competitive research, studying the characteristics of the best action RPGs that had come out in those years to find out what made them attractive, and analyzing the classic Fables to understand the essence of the game series and be able to keep it. In addition to laying the foundation on which to build the game, prototypes were made at that time to test the tools and systems. Open world action RPGs are incredibly complicated to make. They take a lot of time, a lot of people, and in Playground they have the mentality of doing more with less. And if Assassin's Creed is made by 5,000 people, they will have 150 or 200. And if they do it in 7 years, they Fable in 5. It is good to be ambitious, but it is also, you also have to be realistic. And what I saw is that it was getting longer and longer, and I personally do not know if I have the creative capacity to be working on the same thing for more than X years, Fernandez said. I don't want to make a huge emphasis in here. This is not an article about Fable. It's an interview about Fernandez's life career as a senior combat designer. He's very grounded about what he says with Fable, and basically speaks of the whole situation that he lived inside of Playground. He went on to saying the following as well. It has been 3 beautiful years, and I think Fable is a super interesting IP. The game has incredible potential, and there is really a good team inside. The best thing Playground has done in the years that I've seen is the people they have got. This is not an interview to a mad employee talking trash about the company he left in a grudge, but a person that enjoyed his journey at Playground. That said, we do know that directives enter and leave left and right. He just confirmed what we all feared. Playground does not have the experience nor direction knowledge to make a game other than a racing one. They do not have the credentials, they do not have the pedigree, and this is just their first flight, trying to accomplish it in 5 years. Making a racing game is very different than making an open world RPG. Fernandez already said that. They did bring huge talents though. Something that I like to point out about what Fernandez said is that they are tasked with doing extensive research to maintain Fable's essence. That is something McCaskill was also saying on her time at Playground. That is something that she said. I have it covered on my videos. She was asked to do research and to know the essence of the game. They try to maintain the essence. However, they shouldn't have to be using developing time to research something the original team already knew, or learning developing techniques they have never used. I used to be positive about Fable. Now, however, I am going to be indifferent. Though, my coverage of the game, I have only learned concerning and troubling things. I would love for Fable to be amazing, because it is a game that gave me so many fun hours and delightful British comedy in my youth. It broke my heart when Lionhead was shut down. But to avoid more disappointments from now on, I would advise you to stay indifferent to it, so that whatever the case might be, whether the game ends up being good or bad, those youth dreams we had with this franchise will not be crushed again. We always have Fable Remake. I come back to it from time to time, and it is always a joy, even if it's mostly a nostalgia game. But hey, what game of our youth isn't? This was RPJames with some more coverage of RPGs, and I invite you to like the video and subscribe to the channel before you close the door. Remember that if no one has told you today that you're a gorgeous and beautiful plus person, you are indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. Have a beautiful day, and remember to stay safe always out there. These are troubling times, the ones that we are living in right now. Be careful out there, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Have a beautiful day.